Hi everyone. Welcome
Hola.
to the show. To, oh God! And the way I was gonna intro that, it kind of screwed it up because there's a Pink Floyd reference. It's like, so you thought you might like to go to the show? Damn it. Anyway, um,
You missed the ample opportunity.
yeah, it wouldn't have really worked anyway. Now that I'm contemplating it, but anyway, so today's this is a this was been a very special week for me personally because of a particular album that came out 50 years ago on March 1st, 1973. A very well-known album amongst the entire world. It's considered one of the biggest successes ever, and it's The Dark Side of the Moon, obviously by the band Pink Floyd, my favorite band ever. And also
Let's get
this
high.
that's not what the band's about. That's like the
I
biggest
don't.
that's like the biggest misconception about this band is that they were just smoking weed all the time. I mean, they were smoking weed, but they that wasn't like what that wasn't what that wasn't what their lyrics were about. There wasn't what they were trying to get across. Everybody, like, fans like to do it because fans did that a lot back then, and even still to this day, like, people go to college and they just like smoke and they're like, yeah, let me turn on a Pink Floyd album. Well, listen to the lyrics, I'll just get high off of it. um One of the
Teachers, leave those kids alone.
well, that's The Wall. But
I don't
that's like
care.
that's the oh that when that 50th
That's like the only
anniversary
peace
comes to,
song Floyd I know. Song I know. So
oh, they're definitely not a singles band. They were an album band, which is why Dark Side of the Moon is so which is why it's Dark Side of the Moon is so memorable to a lot of people because, like I said, it's the third best-selling album ever in the world, only losing out to Thriller by Michael Jackson. And I can't remember the second one. I think it was like the greatest hits of the Eagles, which interesting. But anyway, but
hey, I can understand Thriller.
oh yeah, everybody can understand Thriller. I mean, that was like, how did this happen?
Fucking Vincent Price, zombies, Michael Jackson. Who needs anything else?
Giving my sister nightmares when the music video came out. Especially when Vincent Price came on.
Ooh,
Anyway,
I love Vincent.
but anyway, so in 1973, this band came out with Dark Side of the Moon, which is a very, how shall I say this? It was, for its time, it was a album that had not been done before in terms of the type of message it was putting out there. It is known as a concept album. For those of you that don't know what a concept album is, it's an album that actually tells a story like a television show or a movie. It
Kind of
was
like Green Day's American Idiot.
Yes, that's why it was turned into a Broadway show. Um,
Hmm.
there are plenty of other artists that have done this. The Beatles were the first one to actually make a concept album called Sergeant Pepper and the Lonely Hearts Club Band. Now, if you want to talk
Hmm.
about now Circus, if you want to talk about psychedelic drugs and weed, that's one that is like associated mostly with that album because
Dude,
it's
I
just
have like a picture of the Beatles on my fucking laptop test right now, so should I know?
yeah. So I just want to say, like, Pete, that's more associated with that album was more associated with drugs than this one. Um, so before I talk about the album, let me go over some of the history of Pink Floyd beforehand, so that people get an understanding. Uh, so Pink Floyd started in 1965, and it was a band that was very heavily influenced by the psychedelic sound that the Beatles were inventing at the time, or not inventing, but they were popularizing. And they were also a band of these two different artists called Pink Anderson and Floyd Council. So the front man of the band at the time, Sid Barrett, who was the founding member of the band, said, "Hey, why don't we take these two things and combine them and make it our own band?" Which is that's why they're called Pink Floyd for that reason. Um, at the start, the band was like very heavily into blues and psychedelic sounds. their first album was mostly space rock. So a lot of the sounds that you heard in the album were more like psychedelic and space shit. Which is why people associate like the early works of Pink Floyd like with drugs and everything. But they mostly talked about like things happening and like having like a space sound and talking about like some like psychedelic shit. And everybody loved the album when it came out at the time in the UK. Like everyone's like, "Wow, this sound is like completely new and different. I like this." And everybody was like getting high and making psychedelic babies out of it. As time went on, though, Sid, the founding member of the band, started experimenting with LSD. And if anybody knows what LSD is like, you don't want to try it. From what I understand, it is a very strong hallucinogen, and you will start thinking that you're going insane.
That's me going through fucking depression.
Well, okay, LSD is like 10 times that, or 100 times that. Like you automatically think the walls are closing in on you. There's like you'll hear like sounds will be amplified 100 times over, and you'll be begging to try to get out of it. And there's even moments like you might be like very emotional and like you'll cry about like somebody that's dead. You'll be like, "I love you, but I hate you at the same time, you motherfucker."
Sounds like my fucking depression.
But Sid experimented with LSD a lot. Like he would take it every single day. And so taking it every single day, or almost every single day, he started developing episodes of schizophrenia, and so he was automatically thinking that voices were in his head, and he would also be very he would start developing multiple personalities.
God damn.
So he was going crazy, literally, not the ableist term. Like he was literally going crazy. During concerts and studio recordings, a lot of times he would be very erratic, talking about shit that the rest of the band were like, "What the fuck are you talking about, dude?" And so they had to bring a fifth member into the band to try to curb Sid's rantings and ramblings. And then eventually they decided, "Sid, you're fired from the band. We can't have you around here anymore." And of course, Sid was upset by it. He even wrote a song on like their second album saying like, "I know I'm leaving the band, so fuck all of you for kicking me out."
Fuck, dude. That's their own damn fault, ain't it?
It's the song is called Jugland Blues. It's the only song that Sid wrote for the album, but it's the last song on there, and he was just like, "Yeah, I know I'm leaving, so I'm just gonna burn everything down to the ground before I do that." And so the band was kind of figuring out what they were gonna do afterwards, because Sid was like their leader. It's kind of like if kind of the same as if trying to move on from SpongeBob, if SpongeBob was on so many drugs, and then like Patrick and the other characters were like, "Yeah, we got to kick SpongeBob out of the show." So the band at the time decided to do individual songs on their own, and then put it all onto an album, which didn't work because all the individual band members decided like, "Hey, you know what? We'll just we'll create our own music that's solely for our purposes." And the fans were like, "This is ridiculous," because they're just making some music that doesn't make any sense. But a lot of it was experimentation. They were just experimenting with different sounds that they had in the studio with all the instruments. And years later, the band would be like, because their third album was called Umaguma, which is a slang term for sex in Cambridge. So they said, "Oh yeah, we'll just create an album that sounds like sex on an album," and it didn't work. Even the band says, "We refuse to play any of the songs on this album." then they experimented again with like some orchestra stuff, and then they looked back on it and said, "What the fuck were we thinking back then when we made this?" And so that was their fourth album, and then they were asked in interviews, if you got offered $1 million to do the entire album, would you do it? And they said, "Fuck no, we wouldn't." And but the fans were like, "Actually, we like this song. Adam Heartmother's a good song," which, by the way, is the name of a stand in Part 4, except replace mother with father.
Oh.
Self and Mooney know who I'm talking about. But,
well, excuse me for not caring about JoJo.
I mean, that's fine. Not in this context, I don't mind. But the fans really liked the song, and the band was like, "Well, if the fans request it, we still won't do it because we're just not fans of the song." And so there are other like orchestra bands out there that will actually play the song at their own concerts if they feel up for it. But this whole song is like 23 minutes long.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, progressive rock songs can last up to 20 minutes. And Pink Floyd was known for making songs that lasted 20 to 25 minutes. Like, that's how long Adam Heartmother is. It's like 23 minutes, and even then, back then, they were like, "Yeah, we will never play this again. We'll cancel this song before anybody else does." But people are like, "It's not even offensive." Like, that's the point. It's offensive to us, and we created.
It's too long for us to even play.
It's like we looked at this and said, "Man, we fucked up with this one."
You can make a whole concert out of that just one song.
Well, half of a concert anyway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which I would love to see. I would love to see a live rendition of Adam Heartmother, but I would have to convince a band to be like, "Hey, can you learn all of this in like a matter of days?" And then just put this on and be like, "No." So eventually they moved on to another album, which is finally where they found their identity, so to speak. And a lot of the experimentation they were doing previously eventually led to the sounds that you would hear on Dark Side of the Moon. One of the things they did before they started recording the Dark Side of the Moon albums, they went to Pompeii, Italy, and they went to an ancient Colosseum that was burned down from Mount Vesuvius, but a lot of it still remained, or some of it still remained. And so they had a concert with no fans. And so they just played in this ancient Colosseum in Pompeii with for nobody, and everybody in the town could hear the music because it was so loud. It was all people were saying like, "Oh my god, it's like the band is calling back the spirits of all the people who died in Mount Vesuvius with the music." And it eventually turned into like a movie concert that people actually went to the movie theaters to see. And people said it was a surreal experience. Like, you had to be there just to watch it and listen to it. There are people that do reaction videos of the entire concert, and they're like, "Oh my god, this is like perfect. This was like perfect COVID-19 concert to watch."
Maybe if our Discord gets started, maybe we could do one for ourselves in there.
Oh god, I would love to play that whole thing. Because that music from that movie is amazing. Because it's like,
then we'll do it.
Yeah, we will once that Discord comes up. But eventually, the band also made like 2 soundtracks for 2 French movies, but nobody really talks about those albums because they were soundtracks. It's kind of like that one Queen album where it was just like, "Oh yeah, we made an album for like this comic book movie that didn't do very well in the box office." So it's like, Queen, what were you thinking? That's what people think of Pink Floyd with those 2 albums. Like, you made soundtracks for 2 French films nobody watched. What were you thinking, guys? So finally, 1973 rolls around. They released the Dark Side of the Moon album, and for those of you that don't know, the logo is basically the prism triangle. And there's an experiment that was done where if you took some light and you put it through that prism, a rainbow showing off light would end up happening. If you were to God, what's the term? If you were to throw light through it. So that was a very infamous experiment that was done by, I can't remember the name of the scientist, but the band decided to used that as a concept for their album because what they wanted to talk about in this album is really a multitude of things. One of the things they wanted to talk about is the intricacies of everyday life that every human goes through and how it could eventually lead to apathy and insanity. Because they also did this as a sort of a kind of a quasi tribute to their fallen member Sid. So there are 10 tracks on this album, and the beginning of the album talks about just basically begins with like a heartbeat, and you can barely hear it in the beginning, but as the heartbeat keeps going, it keeps getting louder and louder, and then you start hearing like all these machinations of like a cash register going off and clocks ticking, and then you're hearing like and then you're hearing people talk about dying and everything, and then you hear somebody laughing hysterically, and then you hear a woman screaming, all at the same time. All these sounds are going on, and it's making you feel like you're insane.
What kind of Requiem for a Dream shit is this?
It's pretty, it was pretty remarkable shit back then. Like, because the one thing that you could say about Pink Floyd is they can make you feel the emotions of the song without having to use so much lyrics. Like, they could make you feel something without having to speak at all. That was a beauty that, what?
Like, it's like basically saying, tell me you're insane without even telling me you're insane.
Yes. So one of the things, there are several things that can ultimately lead to this life of apathy and insanity. The first part is living a mundane lifestyle. So you basically get up, you go to work, you come back home, and then you go to bed, and they just keep repeating this cycle day after day after day. Eventually,
that's basically life itself.
Exactly. And you ultimately get sick and tired of doing the same thing all the time, and you're constantly pondering, like, what would have happened if I ended up changing my life and doing something else? What if I actually took a risk and started something I actually wanted to do? And there's kind of regrets afterwards because, as we'll talk about later on in the album, there's the concept of time and how people usually waste it, and by the time you get older, there's not much time left. One of the also things that can lead to this mundane life of insanity and apathy is fear, and that fear can come in many different forms. The way the symbolism that they use in the album is fear of flying. They use that as an example. So your constant fear of flying can ultimately lead you to think like, oh my God, there's no point in even trying to do anything because my fears are taking hold of me, and there's no point in me like trying to do anything at this point. And it's done through basically a whole instrumental. There's no lyrics involved in the song. And the music just makes you feel on edge the whole time. Like there's no positive sounds coming out of it. It puts you in a state of fear all the time. And there's even little sounds in the background of like, like when you're at an airline and you're about to board a plane and you have that person on the PA speaker like telling you like, oh, we're about to board pretty soon. They just put that in the background as this like anxiety written music kicks in, and it's like, oh my God, this whole thing. It's like, what the hell? And then the end of the song, like it's the constant thought of like a plane crashing as you're flying, because many people who have a fear. What?
Sounds like it doesn't sound like something for like Snakes on the Plane or something, or a music sound like by Clint Mansell.
Well, not as extreme as having snakes on a plane, but yeah, the general idea. But the general idea that you're putting out, Mooney, is a good example. Just the idea of like the plane crashing and not doing what it's supposed to do, which is get from point A to point B. Here it's just, oh God, the plane's in the air, it's going to fall, it's going to crash, and we're all going to die. Like, that's, anybody who has a fear of flying, that's ultimately what they think. They're just going to die as soon as they get on this death machine. But fear, like I said, can come in many different forms. It doesn't exactly have to be flying, but just think of anything that you're afraid of, and then just imagine, as you're listening to the song, just imagine like, oh, that's me in that situation. It's it's letting people know, like, we understand the fear that you're going through. Which, by the way, there's a lot of empathy in this, regardless of how people feel about the end of the album with its dark message. But the whole concept is like, we understand what you're going through, which is why the album is so popular to begin with, because there's not that many albums that spoke to people as they were listening to it. And it's like, we know your pain. So after the fear, another thing that can get people to be so apathetic and feel like they're going insane is the concept of time. Like, everything that goes on in your life, whether it's like working, whether it's being with your family, whether it's like hanging out with friends, whether it's like being with a lover or something like that, or maybe if it's just you're on a wild vacation in Bora Bora. Just the idea that you're just spending your time that eventually will lead to less time. As you get older, there's less time that you have to do things, and eventually you'll feel like there's nothing left for you to do, and there's so much you wanted to accomplish, but time moves by so fast that you wake up one day and you're 80 years old and you realize, oh, there's nothing left for me to do, because I pretty much wasted most of it just trying to do the mundane things. And people wish they can go back in time and then start to relive again. And you can't go back in time, unfortunately. You're stuck doing what you did. You made your decisions, and now you got to live with them. And that can drive somebody to feel sad and feel like that there's no hope for them afterwards. So the next one is called the next song. I keep not saying the names of the songs. I'm sorry. So it goes like this. Track one's called Speak to Me. The second one's called Breathe, On the Run, and then Time. So now we're on the fifth one, which is called The Great Gig in the Sky. And I will talk about the Wizard of Oz thing after I talk about the album, because it's pretty significant. So The Great Gig in the Sky is another instrumental with a piano track to it. But this one talks about like, one of the things that it talks about with apathy and insanity is the concept of death and the fear of death. Like, if you think about it, like, are you afraid of dying? Some people are, some people aren't. And in fact, one of the roadies, like, the band asked the roadie a question, like, are you afraid of dying? And there's like, why? Why would I be afraid of dying? We're all going to die eventually, so why should I be afraid of it? I'm ready to die anytime. And they actually took that interview recording and they put it on the album. But it's one of the few songs that Pink Floyd did where none of them sing on it. And they let somebody else outside the band like do the open it, like the main track, the main vocals on it. But the thing is, there are no words that are said. It's basically just one woman just using her voice to scream at different pitches. And it's all to illustrate death, the concept of life, and then eventually you die. And very powerful. This is the type of song that you can listen to while a laser light show's going on. And yes, Circus, you can listen to this while smoking weed, and you'll feel like you're on an intergalactic voyage or something.
Woo! Time to meet up with Captain Neo.
Captain Neo?
Hmm?
Michael Jackson reference.
Oh.
Mhm.
Oh God, Michael Jackson on a spaceship. That's the one thing. That's the one thing we didn't get.
Actually, he did like a Captain Neo, which is like an outer space type of movie, and also like a Sega game that was
I know the Sega game.
arcade. Yeah. So yeah, Michael Jackson on a spaceship. Yep. Here we go.
I was like, oh God, if the Enterprise ran into Michael Jackson, they'd be like, who is this human, and why does he have supernatural abilities?
Hey, Sil.
Hey, Sylph.
So can we pretend that airplanes in the night sky are like shooting stars? I could really use a wish right now. Wish right now. Wish right now. Oh God, Sylph, stop spamming.
I'll put you in timeout, Sil. I don't know
No,
if I can do that to another.
no. Sylph is gonna be joining us eventually. You can't do that. And by the way, this album came out when there were still record players, and so there were two sides to an album. So technically, every song I just talked about was on one side. Then you had to flip. What you had to do is you had to take the needle off the record. You had to take the record out, and then you had to flip it over and put it back onto the player, and then put the needle back onto it to listen to the second part of the album.
Yeah, Gen Z.
Well, not even that. Even millennials didn't even know what that was like, because we had CDs back then.
Here's the thing. My mom was like one of those people who had a record player, so I knew, as a millennial, I knew what a record player was.
I mean, so did my dad, but I barely even used them because I had CD players, so there was no point.
Also, I had CDs, I had cassettes, I've had records, 8-tracks, everything growing up.
And even then, some of Gen X didn't even use records all that much because cassettes came out at the time, and CDs are like, oh yeah, this is the hard new thing now. But anyway, getting back to the album. So the first album on the second part of the album is called Money. And obviously this is one of their more popular songs. You probably heard it on the radio a lot. But it has to do with the concept of, I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's the concept of money. This is another thing that can lead to apathy and insanity is, you know, how you spend your money. And how you control other people with your money. So it's not just, do you have the most money or how much you have of it if you're trying to get by everyday life. It's how much money do you have that you can ultimately use to influence everybody else around you and to take control of power. And if you see other people with a lot of money and you're like, oh my God, they're screwing me out of my money just so they could profit themselves, or it's a matter of, oh, hey, I have so much money that I don't want anybody stealing it, which is why a lot of these rich people don't like to be taxed. Then they'll be like, I got to do everything I can to try to make sure that they don't steal my money. So, and all these...
Your audio's fixed.
Well, thank you. I would hope so, because then nobody would be able to listen to me. But yeah, I'm seeing the audio levels go up and down on my Streamlab, so I know it's working.
Finally.
I mean, it was doing the same thing before, like on Wednesday. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know what was going on with that. So yeah, all of those concepts of, you know, dealing with money, dealing with people who have money, dealing with people who don't have money, it can ultimately cause all this turmoil. The next song after that is called Us and Them. This is a song about people who have depression. And this is another thing that ultimately causes a lot of apathy and can make you feel like you're going insane, is because this concept of you having depression, and it's an us versus them mentality. Like, you feel like you have depression, or you do, you're diagnosed with it, or you're not diagnosed with it, but you realize that you are, and you haven't gotten the diagnosis yet. You feel like the entire world is against you because they don't understand what you're going through. You feel like you're in constant, you feel like you're in a constant battle with yourself every day. You always feel like that you're always in conflict with other people because they don't know what you're going through. They just hear you and they just hear what you're saying, and they just treat it like, oh, suck it up, big baby. Like, go out and get a job or something.
Thank God, mental health is like a big thing now compared to the 70s.
Oh yeah, because you could, if you talked about depression back then, they would be like, oh, shut up. This is why Pink Floyd was popular back then, because this was a band that was one of the few that actually talked about it and sympathized with and empathized with people that were going through it. Hell, some of the band members had depression. If you listen to some of their solo stuff, like, a lot of them talk about how much depression has really affected them after becoming famous. Especially after this album came out, they all got very rich, but it ultimately damaged their mental health. Like, they did not come out better people after this album came out. They ended up being more miserable than ever. Some of them even were diagnosed with depression after they started doing tours for this album, and having to do more albums afterwards because the music business at the time was like, oh hey, this album was so great, now you got to make another one that's just as good. And there was so much pressure to have them put out to put out more albums like this that they were just like, no, we can't. It's damaging our mental health. They even talk about, like, some of the band members on their solo albums talk about how their partners are going through depression and how they're trying to help them through these times. So yeah, I mean, not only do they sympathize and empathize with their fans, some of them have it as well, and they want to try to build more of a communication with that. So this constant dealing of conflict between the two is, I mean, even still today, I mean, there was a senator who recently just went to the hospital because he was battling depression. And there was, of course, in the majority of society said, like, oh, it's great that he's focusing on getting himself better and getting healthy. Then, of course, there's all these assholes on Twitter that be like, oh, suck it up, big bald baby. Like, we didn't vote you in so that you could just sit there and just cry like a little bitch. Like, go back out there and go, like, vote for us to be, like, just do your goddamn job. And people were like, what the fuck, dude? Fuck you. And
we're all not perfect. We have mental health to worry about. It's not a good thing sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially when you feel like you want to do an exit point.
Yes, which this band also talks about in other albums, not just this one. But the other thing, okay, so the next song after this one is called Any Color You Like. This is an instrumental that paints the idea that people think that they have the concept of choice. Like, the decisions that you make in your life are those that are made by you and not necessarily ones that are made by society or the people that are are involved in your life. Like, everybody thinks that they are in control of their own destiny. Everybody thinks they're in control of their own choices. But really, what the song is telling you is, like, all the decisions that you make are based on the atmosphere that you're involved in. So, for example, if you're in a very loving atmosphere, you are making decisions, and if you feel like the decisions that you make are because, like, you're in a position of, like, positivity and love, what you're really making the decision on is because of the fact that you're in this great society. You're making that decision so that you can keep that prosperity going for yourself. Or it's the culture around you that is making that decision for you, because it's like, well, I mean, you think that you're doing this for yourself, but really you're just you're keeping the prosperity of what you're living in surviving more so than if you were to vote against it. And even if you were to be in, oh, go ahead, Minnie.
In other words, like I said it before, and I'll say it again. Like I said, in a nutshell, we live in a society.
Yeah. But there's all these, you know how the people on the other side are like, well, I make my own choices because America gives us choices. Well, Americans make us free with our decisions. But no.
Oh, how ironic is that?
Yeah. No, it's
trying
the
to tell the
complete
fucking
opposite.
slaves of the 1700s that was brought on a boat here how great America was back then, and their choice to be here.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, but the slave owners back then said, like, oh, you made the correct decision to come on board these boats and become, like, our property because you've gotten away from the evils of Africa. That's how they painted it back then. So they said, like, oh, you made the correct decision by doing so. And some of the slaves back then probably thought, like, they made this decision for themselves, when really it was the surroundings around them that basically made that decision for them. But the point is, you can't make your own decisions. The decisions that you make are ultimately caused by the environment that you're in, or the environment that you want to be a part of, that the rest of the people in your group are trying to go for. So, I mean, some of us, like, want a better world for all of us. But that's a collective front. That's not an individual thing, and that could sometimes make people feel sad because people want to be more in control of their lives, but it's just that because of their circumstances they can't be, and that's an issue for them. Some of the people just want to be mountain people. They just live out on their own. They just want to live up in a cave in a mountain where they have ponytails and beards, and there are wide arrays of cave women that just come in and then just give them orgies all the time. But unfortunately, that world is not going to happen.
Kevin.
But I'm saying
What?
Kevin's world will not exist, and he's probably upset by that. All right, but anyway, moving on. So the next song is called the penultimate song of the album is called "Brain Damage." This has to deal with insanity, and this is ultimately going into what the album is mostly about, like how all these things can eventually make you feel like you're going insane, because you start hearing voices in your head. You start seeing more people that are just acting like you end up being in these buildings that they consider to be hospitals, but what there really are institutions that are just keeping people locked up because they've been labeled as crazy. And the whole idea is like the only way that a human can feel like that they can empathize with somebody, or that they feel like that they can relate to somebody, is when they reach the dark side of the moon, which is the point of no return, full complete darkness, and getting on the verge of insanity. So they're saying like the only way that we're ever going to really know each other and really understand each other is if we're going through our worst times. And so this obviously has some influence because of the founding member of the band, Sid, who eventually had to leave because he was being erratic of all the LSD he took with his schizophrenia and everything. Like, even the band members have said, like, the only way that we're ever going to feel like we can understand Sid is if we go insane like he did. Like, because we can't understand why he did this, and we want the old Sid back. We don't want we don't want the Sid who's gotten mental health issues, like, and is not doing anything to make himself better. He's just gonna burn the entire planet down if he so desired. But he feels like the band's like, the only way that we're ever going to empathize with that is if we end up being in the same mindset as him. But we'll probably get to that point when we get old and we're about to die, which ultimately leads to the final song of the album, which is called Eclipse. Basically, it's a poem that's sung by one of the band members, and basically says all the decisions that you make in your life, now, in the past, and in the future, you may feel that it's all positive things that you're doing for yourself, but eventually it's all going to not matter in the end because you will eventually end up dying. So, and then the album ends with like the heartbeat just basically fading and fading and fading until the heartbeat stops. So, when this album came out, it really resonated with a lot of people because there was a lot of people in the 70s who felt helpless, who felt apathetic, and they felt like all the decisions that they're making in their lives are ultimately leading to their mental health waning. And for the 70s, this was almost therapy to them because this type of content was not being done in albums. Like, there was barely anybody. Like, a lot of times if you were to make a record, it had to be something that was like danceable or something like the Beatles, something that something that can get a crowd going and make you feel good and everything. And even though those things still exist today, and nobody's judging somebody if they decide to go that route, but to hear something completely different at that time and really say like, we know what you're going through. We don't have the answers to a lot of things. But this album is not supposed to provide answers for, how we go through it. But at least there's some point we can all empathize with each other when we reach that point in our lives where we feel like that there's no hope left. So because of that, it sold a lot of albums. It was on the Billboard charts for 15 years. Like, that's how popular the album was. It lasted all the way until 1988. And that was like,
dear. Shit.
yeah. But here's the thing also with this album. It's very known. It's a meme of, if you watch Wizard of Oz and you listen to the album without the and you listen to the movie, or not listen to the movie I should say, but if you watch the movie without the sound on and you just play the album, a lot of it syncs up really well. This started the whole movie sync movement, where people just like started playing their favorite albums over certain movies, and they were like, oh my god, the music and the movie line up so well with each other. And it started this whole like cult thing where people now started doing movie nights where all they did was listen to Pink Floyd albums and then just watch movies that associated with that. But it is on YouTube. Just look up Dark Side of the Rainbow. That's what it's called. And they got the entire Wizard of Oz movie on there, and they have the entire Dark Side of the Moon album playing over it. And even though the album's 45 minutes long, the album will loop and start over again, and echoes. Sorry. But the album will loop, and then you could just keep watching the movie while the music's going on, and people still say, wow, there's still some elements of the song when it loops over that it resonates with some of the scenes again. So that's where that started. I don't know who found it out, but it's pretty funny, to say the least. I've actually done it myself, and yes, it is true. A lot of it does feel like they synced it up really well. There were even rumors that the band watched the movie beforehand, and they said, yeah, let's do a movie where we sync up. Let's do an album where we sync up it with the movie. And the band members are like, what, do people think that we just sit back and we just watch like great movies all the time? Like, no, we try to create music that resonates with not just us, but with the rest of our fans that listen to it. Like, we don't have time to sit back and watch Wizard of Oz like constantly.
Coincidence.
Yeah, it's just coincidence. Although, if you did listen to Pink Floyd's The Wall album while watching Alice in Wonderland, that is also a song. That is also a thing that exists, and it's amazing just how well they sync up together. Like, I actually
just want to go get high and do that.
Yeah, I actually did that. I actually listened to the Wall album while watching Alice in Wonderland, and when you do, the movie is actually scary. Like, it turns into a horror movie at the end.
Ooh, it sounds fun.
Like, you think that, like, because it's, like, in the Disney version, like, if you just watch it with the Disney, it's on, like, okay, it's all wild at the end. Like, it's not as bad as it does as bad as it seems. It's just a dream. But no, that feels like, because the album gets very dark at the end. And it's like, oh my god, they are literally going to kill Alice.
They all do look like they're going to kill her.
Yeah, but it's like in the Disney version, it looks like they just want to capture her and then just, like, I don't know, like, just put her in jail or something. Even though, like, the Queen says, "Off with her head."
Well, like, she does want to kill her.
I know, but like when you listen to the album, it actually feels like no, they are gonna like crucify her.
Okay, we need to do this with Alice in Wonderland on one of our movie nights.
Well, I do have I do have Disney Plus, so we can actually do it.
Oh, I can't wait.
I did it once, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to do it again. It's so scary. It was actually pretty scary.
Well, you got your friends here.
I know. But anyway, yeah, so, I mean, that's basically the album, but the album lasts 45 minutes, which is around the time that we've done the stream so far. But even going further into it, like, their successes afterwards, I mean, they felt really, after the album, like, they got very wealthy, but at the same time, they got more miserable, as I was saying. Like, they didn't feel like making any more albums. They were sick of touring, and this was like one of their biggest tours at the time. And they just hated constantly creating music and going on the road and everything. It was just way too much for them. And so eventually they decided to make an album that was a tribute to their fallen band member Sid. Like, they actually made an album for him saying, "Shine on, you crazy diamond," which obviously it's another JoJo reference. Actually, the top stand in part 4.
Still found something.
But but they decided to dedicate the album to him, and it's like, we wish you were here with us. Like, the guy wasn't dead, but he just wasn't here anymore. Like, he was living in his own head with all the rest of the voices in his own mind. But they just wanted him back like he was like when he first started out with the band. They didn't want this guy that actually the guy Sid actually showed up while they were recording the album. And they didn't recognize him at first. He completely shaved all of his rock star hair. He had gained like 60 pounds because all he did was just sit in his apartment and eat nothing but pork chops all day. And
Damn.
yeah, and then he just looked completely disheveled. And when the band members finally realized it was him, one of the bandmates cried. Like, they couldn't believe that this was actually him going, like, they couldn't believe this was actually him. Like, we're dedicating an entire album to you and how much we miss you. And to see you the way you are now, like, we just felt like this guy that we knew as Sid no longer exists. Like, whoever's taken a hold it has killed him, and we lost him forever. So basically they're sending him off. This was like this was like an obituary for somebody who was still alive, but mentally just wasn't there anymore. And
How is Sid doing these days, I wonder?
he's dead.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, he died in 2006. Because
Damn.
he was born in the 40s, so he was about 60. But like, there was just no way. Like he completely secluded himself as after he left music in 1974. Like, there was like one of the bandmates saw him at a grocery store one day, and then he just ran away from them. And that was the last time anybody ever saw him. Like, he just stayed in his house the entire time, and only just did like bike rides around the neighborhood and just painted. That was the only thing Sid did for the rest of his life.
That's sad.
Yeah. But I mean, hey, that's what doing like very strong hallucinogens will do to you. Like, it really affects your mental health, makes you think everybody is like trying to screw you over, and it makes you go crazy. Literally, like, and not enablementally. Like, he literally went insane. And that's why Pink Floyd focused so much on themes of insanity, because of what they went through with Sid. Yeah, so they dedicated they made that album "Wish You Were Here." That was an album that was specifically for him. And they also criticized the music industry, which at the time no band was doing, because if you did that, there was the fears that they would take you off the label and then you would be broke because they made all the money. But they basically blamed the music industry for causing Sid to go insane, because they gave him a lot of hopes, they gave him a lot of dreams, and they took it away from him. Like, they basically pressured him into doing so much that he had to resort to drugs in order to try to keep up with things. So while they were remorseful for their fallen friend, they also were criticizing the industry that they were making money off of, and they were saying like fuck you. And then after that, like, they started getting like very political. Like, they created an album based off of Animal Farm, which, by the way, we're actually going to be reading at my job in about a few weeks. So it's funny that I told you about this. Huh?
I said such a good book.
It is. And if you haven't seen the animated film, it's just as good.
No, I just listened to the audiobook.
Yeah, I mean, the audiobook,
Actually,
You can listen to it on YouTube right now.
Yeah, you could.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry, what were you going to say, Mooney?
I was going to say, I heard about that actually from a British movie a reviewer, so I kind of heard about it from him.
Yeah, I mean, you should definitely take a listen to it if you can. It's probably like one of the few. It's even though George Orwell, the guy who wrote it, is like kind of problematic in a lot of ways. Um, like some of his early work. I mean, when I say that, I don't mean like J.K. Rowling, who just goes off on this whole anti-trans thing. I mean, no, people. I mean, he was critiquing like Animal Farm is basically a critique on the Soviet Union at the time when he wrote this, which was, I believe, he wrote this in the 40s. I believe it was like 19. Because I know the animated film came out in the 50s.
Let me look it up.
Yeah, because I know it was pretty early on when the Soviet Union was around. Because this was definitely during World War II times and like afterwards when the war was over.
Published on. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was saying it was published on August 17, 1945.
Okay, so yeah, right around the time that World War II was ending. So I mean, even then, like even though they were part of the Allies, the Soviet Union, there were still many people that criticized the Union because while they were right on a lot of economic issues, when it came to social issues, they were horrible. They were very authoritative, and people didn't like that authoritarianism coming in. So Animal Farm is basically a satire on the animals rising up against the human farmers, but then eventually and then it's basically how the animals are going to try to create this new society for themselves. I'm not going to go into spoilers about it because I don't want people to. I want people to actually take a look at the book or hear it. But that's basically what the book's about. But the band were huge fans of the book, and they were also fans of the sort of democratic socialist politics at the time. And they're still pretty socialist today too, like the band is. They actually came out of retirement to do a song for charity for all the Ukrainian people when the war started last year. They made a song for all the Ukrainian people, which everybody was like shocked that they did it, and for good reason too. They thought it was really positive. Even though three of the band members no longer were with the band anymore, but everybody thought it was in good. Everybody thought it was in good faith, and they raised a lot of money for Ukrainian people. So because they're heavily anti-war, but. This album, Animals, they decided to separate humans into three different groups of animals. Dogs, pigs, and sheep. The dogs are the businessmen who lie to people using their fake smiles. They dress up in suits. They give you the firm handshake. And their job is to basically screw all the working people. They're just here to take your money, and the narrators are like, well, we hope that you're happy with the decisions that you made, like lying to people in front of their faces to make money. We hope that you eventually die, and a sad death. And then it turns it from like the dog's perspective, and like the dog is like, oh my god, like I feel like all the decisions that I made were horrible, and I feel like I'm about to die with a lot of regrets, and I regret all the decisions, and now I'm all alone, and there's nobody here at my side anymore. So it's kind of like Mr. Krabs if he was getting very old, and all of a sudden like SpongeBob, Squidward, and Pearl left, and he was just all alone in his anchor. It's like, well, I got the Krusty Krab, but I'm the only one that works here now.
Take money.
Yes, I still have my money though, but I have nobody to share it with, and even Plankton doesn't want me secret formula anymore. Yeah, so the next group are the pigs, and the pigs are like the greedy politicians who will basically do any hypocritical shit to try to gain power. And in the song, there are three different kinds of pigs. There's the one I just talked about. Then there's the pig that basically just decides to go to war just to make a profit off of it. and has no empathy whatsoever for people. It's just like, I'm here for power, and that's it. And then the third pig is Sylph was like, not even plate to fuck. I was just typing that. Just evidence number 105 of how Sylph and I can sync up on thoughts. But the third pig is basically a personal vendetta against a certain politician. At the time when the song came out, they were going up against a specific. They were going up against the 1977 version of J.K. Rowling. At the time, then in the 80s, one of the band members decided to go off on their own, and they decided to call it the third pig, Margaret Thatcher, who was known as the Iron Lady at the time. And then later on in the 2010s, like they said, like, oh, the third pig is Trump, pretty much. So basically, like, the band is saying fuck you to all these three different pigs that are just trying to take control of, like, everybody's lives. And then the third group of animals are called the sheep. And if anybody knows what this is a reference to, sheep are basically the people that just blindly follow the pigs and the dogs and whatever they say. Like I was like,
religious people.
Yes. Actually, yes. Like the pigs will use religion to try to get the sheep to follow them. And there's even a part in the song where the sheep start doing a prayer, but eventually the prayer starts turning into a parody. That's like instead of quoting from the Bible, they eventually say, we will master the art of karate, and then we will start killing all the pigs and the dogs. So eventually the sheep find out, like, the sheep end up finding out that they're being used by the pigs and the dogs, and they start leading a revolution. Like, they end up killing all the dogs at the end of the album, and the sheep end up taking control, and they have all the power now. But then it turns out that the sheep are just as worse as the dogs that they killed. So the dogs, the sheep that are in control now are doing things a lot worse, and then the new sheep that are coming in are just now blindly following the old sheep. So it's basically the new sheep blindly following the old sheep, and it's just a cycle that keeps on continuing. And the final song on the album is the narrator revealing that he is a dog, and that he knows that he's going to be dying pretty soon, but he's comforted knowing that he still has friends and family that he can still hang out with to kind of ease the pain, knowing that there's no more life for him. But at least I could still hang out with my loved ones while my life goes down the shit. While still making sure that I'd avoid all the pigs that come my way, or fight against the pigs that come my way. So there's a little, like, there's, like, even though in all the dystopia that the album portrays, like, there's still hope at the end of it. It's like, okay, like, we can try to get through this if we just band together against the evil pig-like forces that all they do is they just eat, and they don't care how much of a mess they make. Like, even though they're wearing suits, like, their chin is all sloppy from all the mud, and, like, all their suits are messy because they didn't even bother to clean it. It's basically if Kevin was wearing a suit. And then there's The Wall, which is obvious. By the way, The Wall is also a movie. Besides the album, it was a cult classic, which, by the way, the Nostalgia Critic did a review of, and that was the review that basically got people to stop watching Nostalgia Critic.
Couldn't get into that episode, I'll be honest.
Oh, did you never see that?
Not all the way through. I just got bored and turned it off.
Well, yeah, because he basically just tried to do a parody of an album that people considered to be amazing. And everyone was like, why is he doing a parody album of a great album? Like, usually you don't do parodies of great albums. You do parodies of bad albums. And even though the movie is, like, out there, and it's like you have to really be a film buff to really like the movie. Like, people said, like, the movie's good. It was just weird, and I wouldn't watch it again. Like, that's what the whole thing was. But yes, Sylph, I'm being really generous calling it a review. It wasn't even a review. It was just a parody that, and then they tried to release an album off of it. Like, he tried to put his own out. He tried to put his own. He tried to sell his own merchandise off of it too. And I'm like, and everyone just badmouthed him for it. Like, why would you do that? Like, even even the people that didn't listen to The Wall as much as Pink Floyd fans, they were like, I kind of don't understand why there's like people like Pink Floyd fans got upset over this. And then I just typed in, oh, let me go over this point by point for you. And then they were like, oh, I completely understand now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is where this that's the album where the whole anti-school song came from, or basically the whole anti-teacher song came from.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nostalgia Critic made fun of that, which, I mean, why would you? It's like one of the most popular songs in the world. But basically, the whole album is the story, and this is what I try to tell people that watch the Nostalgia Critics trash. It's basically an album that talks about a guy who ends up building a mental wall in his brain to try to shield himself away from society, because he lost his dad in World War II. The people at school treated him like shit, so he ended up becoming apathetic about life. And then he lost his wife because he ended up being abusive to her. So it's like he starts building this metaphorical wall in his brain, and then he just completely shuts himself off from the world. And by the way, this guy's also in a band. So eventually they try to pump drugs into his system to try to make him so that he can perform. But then even though he's numb in his brain, even though he's numb, he goes out on stage and he ends up just becoming like this complete white supremacist. And then he just, like, anybody that's not white in the crowd, by the way, this is a concert in his own head, so it didn't actually happen. But in his own mind, he starts like taking all these marginalized groups and he starts putting them up against the wall and saying, like, only white people deserve to be here. And then like the entire crowd just starts chanting death, 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 like they want to kill the guy in his own head. And so eventually he puts himself in mental prison, and then in his own mind it's a mental Phoenix Wright case.
Jeez.
Yeah, so he actually puts himself on trial in his own brain, and the judge in his brain basically says, like you are a complete piece of shit, like, up and down, through and through. Like, even though you have been traumatized your whole life, you are crazy, and you need to be put out in society again. Like, you need to shutting yourself off from life is not helping you. You need to go back out into society. So he tears down the wall in his own brain. But instead, Nostalgia Critic uses the album to try to piss off his fans, or try to piss off anybody, because this was happening after the Not So Awesome document came out. So anybody that criticized him after that, that's what he ultimately used it for, was to get back at people for criticizing him and his company. So it just ended up becoming like that's not what the album is about. Don't use a great piece of music to try to illustrate that you just hate everybody that criticized you and, like, all the damage that you did to people over there. Like, he ends up, like, instead of, like, in the album, like, the main character ends up becoming like a fascist. But in Nostalgia Critic's version, he thinks all the fans are fascists for calling him out on shit. So it's like, no, that's like the complete opposite, dude. Like, what are you doing? And so, yeah, I mean, that's for the hour, which is what I was gonna go for, however long anyway. So that's been why is Donkey Kong Limbo dancing like that? That's kind of weird. Anyway, anyway, so yeah, that's all I'm gonna go into with it. I mean, Pink Floyd's my favorite band. They've been around for longer than 50 years. They don't make any music anymore, unlike last year, which they only did for charity purposes for the Ukrainian people. But yeah, their music still resonates to a lot of people to this day. I even got somebody who's working at my job who's 21 who had never heard the album. As soon as I talked about it, they were like, I am instantly going back home and I am listening to it. So
Now you're gonna have to ask that person what they think.
oh, they said it was. They said for an album that came out in the 70s, they thought it was good. And then we did album exchanges. So then they told me an album I should listen to, and I enjoyed that. What they recommended. But yeah, I mean, I consider myself a music buff. So but anytime somebody puts out an album, I'll listen to it, except Nostalgia Critics. But yeah. But because of Pink Floyd, like, I listen to albums now more than singles. So you'll catch me listening to albums and then talking about it with friends, and they'll be like, how is it that you know so much about it? It's because, like, well, I listen to it and then I research it afterwards. Yeah. So that's me. And so that's everything. And yeah, the 50th anniversary was on Wednesday, so I thought I would do a tribute to that. Before we started talking about Animash stuff that Sylph found.
Oh God. So
I figured I'd just go over that until Sylph was ready, and then we would start talking about, because what was it? Sylph found. I want to make sure I got this correctly, but you found like some anime, not anime, but like animated music videos about like certain shipping certain characters, and
oh God, no.
Some of them were ships. Some of them were also videos where it's just crossovers between like two different series. Usually one of them being Disney.
Yeah, so I figured we could talk about that right now. So I'll give you the floor, Sylph.
All right, hold on. I just gotta get Elliot off my desk. Come on, get off my desk.
Come on, buddy. Come on, Kashi.
And now the cats begin to take hold.
And usually Chester is like whatever, but he's half asleep right now.
Before I start, when I brought my dinner in, I put the bag down. And he doesn't want to play with the bag that has the handles clipped so that he doesn't get stuck, but he wants to play with the one, like, he wants to play with the non-clipped bag, but he's ignoring the one with the clipped.
Yeah, that's how they all go.
Greetings, Mr. L.
Hey, Al.
Hey.
I gotta find the list.
You just missed the whole Pink Floyd discussion.
Well, you can go back and listen to it. It's Mr. L, if you missed it. It's an hour long, so there are other albums that I could have talked about, but some of them are just like that. It was like out of their prime. So I mean, even though some of them are good, I'll probably talk about them on a solo stream.
Okay, here, I found it. I'm
Whoa,
gonna
cat.
talk about some of the ones that I found from this list.
Yes.
Hey, quit looking at my face, cat. Leave me alone. Hey, quit licking my face, please.
He's preparing you to be eaten.
I might need help with some of these because I don't know all the characters.
Okay.
Alright, so the first video I'm going to talk about is it's called Anywhere But Here. It was posted by the Nameless Doll, who is known for doing these crossover videos. Get away from my trash bag, Elliot. That's my... The plot is that Cinderella's sister gets plastic surgery because she doesn't think Jim from Treasure Planet likes her. So she turns into Jessica Rabbit.
Oh God! What the hell?
No.
What the hell? What the hell?
Let me guess.
The way the video starts is the sister.
Anastasia?
Yeah, Anastasia. The song that they're playing is Cool World? Oh no, it's from Cool World.
I was about to say, like, if they start going into Aladdin shit.
No.
So, Cool World as in the Brad Pitt movie, right?
Maybe, I don't know.
I think it is.
Because
It
that's
starts with oh sorry, you finish your
No, because I was gonna say, Cool World is a cult film that Brad Pitt was in, and it usually gets referenced a lot on the internet.
So
I've never-
Anastasia is walking in town. A couple of brutes take her hat, and she chases after them. And you see Jim from Treasure Planet just standing there, not menacingly.
Just not gonna bother to help at all. Like, okay, they stole
So
her
she
hat.
gets her hat. She turns around and sees Jim. They're instantly smitten with each other.
Oh,
She gives a
God.
goofy smile, and then, oh, I guess they're going on dates now in a weirdly out of place flower field. He
Okay.
gives
Oh
her
my gosh.
he gives her, what the hell is this? Oh,
Sounds
a
like someone's
heart-shaped
copying
rock.
Twilight.
They're talking. She's looking at the shell that he gave. I don't know where she is, but she's on a balcony, looking at the gift, fantasizing about him going on adventures. Okay, so now she's in her room, fantasizing, looking. Okay, so now he's a prince, and he's imagining him as a prince and her as a princess, and they get married. Okay, so like.
Romeo.
Suddenly we're in a scene where she's walking in town and you know those three blonde women that are with Gaston?
Yes.
Yeah,
They're
from
trying
movies.
they're trying to flirt with Jim and he's like,
Oh god.
go away, but like she doesn't see his reaction, so she's walking away all heartbroken. She's looking out the window at her house, he's out there. I think she's happy to see him, and then, oh, there's Esmeralda trying to flirt with him. She closes the curtain, and she's heartbroken. She looks in the mirror, she's judging herself. She's not happy with her. Is this Aurora's dress? She has a dress that she's... Okay, so she's wearing a purple dress. She's trying to look at herself in the mirror. She's holding a flower wreath. Who the hell are you? I wish I could show this. Because, like...
Family?
There's someone, like... I was gonna say, like,
A
hold on, I'm
balcony,
gonna show you
huh?
the image.
A balcony, huh?
Without the music,
Oh,
it shouldn't be too bad, but, like, who the fuck is that on the right?
Oh, wherefore art thou, Romeo?
Oh, I think I remember her. I think it's from I'm trying to remember. It was from another cartoon. Fucking hell, I can't remember. It was
Well,
like,
she's gonna start hitting on Jim, too.
oh shit.
She kisses him, and Anastasia is heartbroken. She runs off crying. Her flower wreath, shaped like a
Hollywood.
heart, is gone.
From Hollywood, from Cool World.
She's crying on her bed. She looks in the mirror. She hates what she's seeing. She thinks of the three blonde girls, Esmeralda, and that lady.
Hollywood from from
Hollywood.
Cool World.
She's thinking of Jim and him on the ship. Galax in the background. Now they're on a boat.
What type of shit is this?
They're still on a boat. She's looking at her reflection. Now they're in a forest. Now I don't know where the hell they are. She has a camera. They're taking a picture. He looks nervous. Like, maybe, I don't know. Elliot's looking a paper bag. Okay, so there's Jim sitting on a roof, brooding. He sees a girl in the mirror. It's Jessica Rabbit. Yes, it's Jessica Rabbit. Being all seductive at the door. He turns away and he's walking out. She's trying to kiss him. She's like, no. She gets offended because, she got surgery to look like Jessica Rabbit, and then she slaps him. The gift that he gave her falls and shatters in half. He realizes, oh shit, that's Anastasia. She got surgery. And then, let's see. He explains that he turned all the women down. the way he looks at it is like, the way he reacts to it is like, oh, these ladies are so effing annoying.
Yeah, the Jotaro effect.
Yeah, all but calling them bitches.
Yes.
So he's mourning what happened. He's heartbroken because he really did love being with Anastasia. Let's see, there's a time skip, like, maybe? He's talking about his regrets. Okay, she's still... Okay, the shell somehow repaired itself. It's supposed to be either a shell or a glass heart. It's like changes back and forth. It showed she got plastic surgery. The shell's fixed again, somehow.
Magic.
She cries a single tear as she looks, as I guess they reconcile, and then time skip and she's back to her old self. Which I don't know how you can undo that, because she got like surgery, get like smaller waist, big boob. So, okay, they're together, it ends with them kissing. On a freeze frame, like the whole old TV shows used to like show credits during like a single frame image. So that was Anywhere But Here
So
by the
basically,
Nameless.
the story is that Anastasia likes a so-called ladies' man in Jim, although Jim doesn't like the women that follow him, and so Anastasia just gets plastic surgery so that Jim can just ignore her, not realizing, of course, that he was really just looking for Anastasia all along, and that she didn't have to go through all this, but she was kind of jealous of all these other women, so.
I mean, they were already connected. It's just that
Yeah,
somehow,
like jealousy kicked in.
yeah, I can.
Yeah,
Considering
jealousy.
what happened with Cinderella, like, right, this one does not have a video because it's on private, but the description is The Fault in Our Stars trailer made with footage of Elsa from Frozen and Raphael from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
So what does
Well,
Raphael? So in that sense, oh wait a minute, no, that's A Star Is Born. Never mind. I don't know The Fault in Our Stars.
I barely like it's like about cancer, right? Like
Yeah.
like a girl has cancer, they think she's gonna die soon. She meets a guy who also had cancer but lost a leg.
Yeah, and he ends up dying in the end. Spoilers.
Mr. L
That
says
was
a
his
freeze.
cancer.
Mr. L says a freeze frame. Also, Mr. Freeze is on the scene.
Oh, I wish. Right, this one also doesn't have a video anymore because it's on private, but Willy Wonka and the guy from Howl's Moving Castle break up.
You mean
Doesn't
Hal
specify-
itself?
Maybe it
Is it
doesn't specify, it just says the guy from. So
Jesus
it could
Christ!
be any male
It's
character.
like I think I've never seen Howl's Moving Castle, but all I do know is that one of the main characters is Howl himself.
See, this one isn't. I think this one's also private. Yep, it's private. Twilight Sparkle hates herself for falling in love with Jim from Treasure Planet because he's a human boy.
What?
And
I don't
and-
understand the appeal of
fuck?
Jim from Treasure Planet.
Oh,
I
he
know,
was
No
right?
idea either.
he was considered a teenage heartthrob back in the day.
Is it because of the hair? Wait,
Yes,
how old is he?
I believe he's a teenager because like Jim from Treasure Island was a teenager.
I have never seen Treasure Planet, therefore I can't tell you.
I only saw it.
Neither have I.
I saw it one time and I had the DVD, never watched it, but I remember
Oh.
Jim was a teenager and like because all the girls, because I saw this with my 7th grade class, all the girls were cheering when Jim came on the scene for the first time because they loved his hair and they loved the fact that he looked like an NSYNC member.
Kind of like fucking Twilight for us.
In a
Yes.
deleted
Yeah,
scene, we learn that Tim
Edward
Hawkins
Cullen.
is 15 years old.
Yep, yeah, so he's a
Oh,
teenager.
that's kind of fucked.
Someone take a seat. Okay. Somebody here needs to take a seat.
How old
Yeah, but-
is
Twilight.
how
I know
old is
she's a kid.
Anastasia?
Oh, I think
Anastasia
she's
was
a little
18.
old.
19.
Yeah, she was
Yeah, because
definitely
she
an
just got out
adult.
of the orphanage.
Oh, someone needs to have a seat.
Multiple, but the both of them do.
Yes.
Okay, so this one is... Okay, the synopsis is... Sleeping Beauty has an affair with Rule 63 Esmeralda, and they get caught and die. So, Rule 63 is known as... Also known as the gender
bending.
Where male characters turned into a female character, or female characters turned into a male character. Okay,
So, in other words, in this case, that Aurora gets into an affair, cheating on Prince Philip with a gypsy. I see.
Oh, that's a slur word. Just heads up.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's fine.
Sorry
Not
about
everyone
that.
knows. Just... I think
Sorry
the right
about
term
that.
is Romani? Romani?
A Romani, I think so.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's
I don't-
Romani now.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so the beginning
Of
of
the
the
Romani,
video...
I get it. Sorry. Just forget.
Sorry.
Kelly, when we edit it, we can delete what I said.
Oh, yeah, we can cut that as... Right, Aurora and Esmeralda meet in the forest. They're looking at each other. Okay, the owl and the squirrel on a tree are looking at each other. The owl's nodding in approval. Let's see.
That fucking owl's a peeping Tom.
They move closer to each other. Esmeralda puts a hand on her shoulder, and from this angle, like it's profile view, and Esmeralda looks like Michael Jackson, like before the accident. Okay, so they kiss. Aurora wakes up. She looks outside her window. There's Belle from Beauty and the Beast, who's spying on her. Aurora goes out, sneaks out into the woods. Belle's spying on her still and following her. Some cloaked man is in the forest too now. And he's running. Esmeralda and the cloak man. Oh no, it's Esmeralda and Aurora meet up in the forest. She curtsies, he bows to her. Okay, so now we got the owl, and then we got a puke green bird, an apple green bird, a red bird, a blue bird, and a golden bird. Hold on, I'm gonna link the video so you know what I'm talking about.
The dark side of the birds.
They're watching, Aurora and him are dancing. Belle shows up and is watching behind a tree and some vines, like a peeping Tom. Esmeralda holds Aurora's hand, puts his hand over it. I think they fantasize about getting married, and for some reason the priest guy marrying them, his face is blurred out, like he didn't give permission for it to be shown in the video. Like, you know those shows where people get blurred out faces because they don't want to get shown?
Yes.
Like that. So I guess they're talking, Belle's watching, they kiss, and then Belle's just, like, I don't know what she's doing, but, like, she's just watching. Okay, so we get an establishing shot of the town. Aurora's looking outside, nighttime. There's a crescent moon. Okay, and another shot pans out, Belle and Cinderella, I think they're gossiping. Yep, they're gossiping about Aurora and Esmeralda. Right, so establishing shot, there's a priest guy. I think he's questioning Esmeralda. Aurora's getting questioned. There's another guy, and there's Phoebus. Oh, that's fun to say, Phoebus. Other old guy, I don't know what's going on. Because they're like Aurora, that guy, and Phoebus are... Oh, I think they're trying to get an arranged marriage. Like, they're drinking wine in this castle hallway near a fireplace. Okay, yeah, marriage contract. So Aurora is brooding in her room, and she's crying. Esmeralda and Aurora meet up somewhere. Okay, they're talking. I think they get caught. Yes, they just got caught by the priest guy. Okay, so I think the mom and Belle They're talking, and Phoebus is like, "Where is she?" Okay, so somewhere Esmeralda and Aurora, or I guess they're about to do naughties. Okay, yeah, they're about to do naughties. They're kissing in this room. And you know that flame overlay that they use for like Hellfire?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's on the screen right now as they're kissing.
Oh, because they're making passionate love. It's like it's on fire, baby.
Oh, Belle here suddenly. She walks in the room. Oh, there's Phoebus too. He looks mad. Belle's trying to cover up without revealing. Okay, and Phoebus suddenly has a sword, and I think he's going after Esmeralda. Okay, so... Oh, well, this is shit. So, I guess they're in a windmill area, like a windmill house. Soldiers kick down the door, and Esmeralda is startled. Aurora runs. Phoebus is so angry that he sent an entire army after them.
Since when does he have an army?
He doesn't. Oh, I gotta show you a screenshot of how weird this looks.
But all because he just did not like what two people were doing. It's like, army, now.
Oh, because, marriage contract.
Yeah.
Hold on, I gotta...
Then again, wars have been started over, like,
White
hot women before.
So,
Yeah.
Esmeralda is surrounded. He's gonna fight, maybe. Oh, we got archers. Esmeralda gets hit. I think he falls, and I think Phoebus is taunting him.
Haha, you got shot.
Aurora is heartbroken.
No, please
She's
don't
crying on the
die.
ground. It's pouring rain. And now she's back in her room, crying in her bed. Her parents and I guess nursemaid are... I don't know what they're doing.
That's
So
when
there's
you know-
her looking up at her canopy ceiling, fantasizing about what happened. She's crying, and then cut to black. Like, there's no ending.
Okay, so he just died.
Yeah.
And she's just crying over it that he's dead because some guy who has an army didn't like the fact that they got married.
The guy that she was arranged marriage to for some reason. I don't know why, but let's see. Someone wrote, after Aurora saw... hold on.
Like, it's just so weird, like, the way that some of these people just write these stories.
I know. I've already.
So,
I'm
according
cringing
to one
after I made
person,
my
they think
stupid
not
blur.
Esma, they thought Aurora died of sadness, or went out the Padme way. Died of a
broken heart.
They may say she died of a burst ventricle, but I know she died of a broken heart. It's like, it's the same thing. It's like, you can't die from sadness. Like, you can't, like...
The closest
sadness-
thing is, like, I think heartstrings, but, like, hold on.
Like, it's impossible. Like, I'm just saying. Like, you could say that she, like, she got so sad that she, just barely, like, lived on after that. So it's like, you could say, like, that, what's the word I'm looking for? You could say, like, physically she's there, but just mentally she's just like, the person I was is gone now.
Hell, Juliet freaking did self-delete.
I'm looking at the comments right now, and then one of them is, and then I woke up, and then I wake up, me every time. This looks so amazing. I really love the storyline. It's amazing, and the end shot of Aurora looking up as she's insane. And then the person who is Jolene Alice replies, "Thank you big time for your comment. The first narrated dream was actually meant to tip off the viewers that it might not be a true story. Aurora could well be telling it to her nurse. Oh, okay. So then it doesn't.
So there's different interpretations that the author is just making people imagine. Like they're just not gonna like do something subtle or point blank. You're just gonna leave it up to the audience to decide. Like,
I mean, on one hand, like I don't like it's okay to like have the audience think, but on another hand,
but
there's a time and a place for that,
Yeah, but usually when artists go that route, it's just because they don't really have a message that they want to put out there, or it's like something that like it's just bad writing. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna let the audience decide what it is. Like, no, you're the artist. You tell us what you want to say. Like, even if it's subtle or point blank.
The song that they used, "Shiny Toy Guns," Striped.
What do you mean striped?
Stripped? Sorry.
What?
The next one is Andy and Woody from Toy Story turn into the men from Brokeback Mountain and fall in love with each other.
No.
I'm not gonna go further into that. I'm just reading the synopsis.
That's a human having sex with a toy. All right, no.
No, it's they both turn into the men. They both turn into.
Wait, they both just transform into like Jake Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger?
Elliot, what the fuck are you doing? Stop messing with the dog.
Elliot.
There's this thing he likes to do where he puts his arm under the space between the door and the floor. Alright, the next one and this one, boobas are edited onto Jasmine for Jim from Treasure Planet's possessed F.
I'm telling you, he was a teenage heartthrob in 2002. It just resonated
Not that I
with.
remember.
Oh no, it happened. It happened, and it just stayed with these people forever.
I'm just gonna skim through this one. Jim runs into Eris. Okay, Jim is in the forest one day because why not? Eris sees him and possesses his body. Eris goes on a hookup spree. Real Jim no likey and tries to take his body back. Jim fails, Eris lives and continues what she's doing. Last point, yay. I'm not...
That made no sense.
The description for this, it's on Vimeo, so like...
No, that's when you know.
I don't recommend watching the video, just showing you where I found it.
That if it's on Vimeo, that's when you know that even like YouTube said like no thanks.
Oh gosh. I'm just gonna read the synopsis for this one. Real life adult video is used to show that Loki and Draco Malfoy are being intimate.
Check, please.
Why? Because they. I was like, wow, you like green? I like green too. Well, then we should fuck. Okay.
Wait.
The end.
Why is this it's showing... Okay, so it's a love triangle.
Between who?
Between Loki, Draco, and Harry.
Yes, because everybody likes to pair up Draco and Harry together.
J.K. Rowling not gonna
You know
like
what? Fuck
that.
J.K. Rowling. She's a fucking bitch.
I'm just saying it's a teasing thing.
Oh, no. In this house, we hate her. Oh, and like with all the shit she's spewing, it's kind of funny because she uses a male name, a male pseudonym, and also made used her initials to not, to sound more masculine, just so she can have better luck publishing.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, this one I'm gonna need help with, because I don't know all the characters, but the synopsis is everyone is Harley Quinn and the Joker. Every single person.
No thanks.
No, thank you.
Alright, I'll just...
I have friends that literally will just dress up like them just so they can have like wild sex parties.
Hold on. The song is Gangsta.
Wait, the
We
song
got
is just
Jane from Tarzan and the other guy from. Hold on, I'm gonna show you. I don't know who the fuck this is.
wait.
No,
The
it's-
song, like the song, is just called "Gangsta."
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Oh gosh, this is the collab video.
I think he looks like from El Dorado or something.
That's
Yeah, yeah, that's the El Dorado guy.
Yeah. Okay, so Jane gets thrown into a vat of green liquid. Okay, the next one is Alice and. Oh, okay, who the hell are you? That they turned into the Phoebus? Okay, no, that's Jim. There's Jim.
Fuck Jim.
Jim got shot. Oh no, how could Jim commit self-game and... Yeah, there's Phoebus. Phoebus and Alice. They turn into... There's a flashback to Alice and Jim before Jim got shot. Okay, is that Hollywood? And the other guy from Treasure Planet, like the older guy.
Oh, Long John Silver.
Maybe?
That's the only one from Treasure Planet that I could think of that's older.
Okay, maybe it's not from Treasure Planet. Wait, Atlantis maybe?
Atlantis: The Lost
that,
Empire.
Yeah, that one I haven't seen in a long time, so I don't even know the characters in that one.
Right, so them and I'll just... It's a little bit blurry, but...
Oh, back when they didn't... Well, back when YouTube was just like, you know, really trying to get Colony on there. I don't know who that is. Looks like one of the Danganronpa characters if he was wearing Joker
Stop it.
makeup. That's
Stop
just
it, Joe.
it's the truth.
Dude, they look like they still try to steal, like...
So
Hey,
that lady and that
well-
guy, they got into an argument. She's upset. Oh, great. Now they're doing like even closer to the Joker and Harley Quinn.
I don't know. It's like these people just got horny for like Joker and Harley Quinn stuff, and instead of just
I
watching.
don't know who the fuck these are supposed to be.
I
mean,
have
I'll
no
check
idea
the
either.
comments. Okay, so
Yeah.
they're saying he's getting restrained. Okay, so he's in his purple suit in a cell. Oh, but the cell has a clock, and I guess time's passing. The door explodes. Okay, she's Harley Quinn now, but like the Suicide Squad one with like the pigtails.
Yes, the Margot Robbie one, the one that
Okay,
everybody
so Hades
loves.
and Jasmine are the next one. I don't know why. I guess she died and what he sees. Elliot, get off my desk. Okay, it was a fantasy, I guess. Okay, they meet up again. Oh, Jim from Treasure Planet and Ariel. Oh, so he's been two-timing them.
Hey, creep.
Oh wait, no, Phoebus and Ariel. Wait, no, Ariel stabbed Phoebus. I'm trying to keep it... Okay, so Jim and Ariel, 5 people worked on this.
And they didn't get paid, I'm assuming.
It was meant to be a fun collab, I guess. Okay, Dimitri and Charlotte. That's who it was. Charlotte was supposed to be Batman animated series Harley Quinn, and Holly was Suicide Squad Harley. Okay. I don't know why this was made.
Just because, like I said, there are people horny for Joker and Harley Quinn shit, and they just want other characters to emulate that.
Even though, like, they weren't supposed to be together.
It doesn't matter. The lore of them being together is what drives them to want them to be together. It's why every couple. It's like
people who start shipping shit for nothing.
it's like people. It's the same people who dress like them at Halloween and then have sex with each other in the costumes because they just want that lore to happen.
Sorry, I'd rather have Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy together.
Gosh, my favorite comment is, I made my brother more confused than he will ever be in his life by showing him this video. Also, why is Hades the only one with a unique story while the other ones is just Joker over and over? Rourke is the Joker. I don't know who the Rourke is.
Just people getting their jollies off of seeing their favorite characters being the Joker or Harley Quinn. It's like it's like
more, I know there's ones from that I saw from the video I first saw this from Saber Spark, but this was the Tumblr list. So okay, the last one on this list is Peter Pan loses a Beyblade competition to Aladdin, and I think his dad leaves him for it. And the punctuation's really weird. There's like no commas, so like, but they fall in love. Right, so Peter Pan and I want to say that's Anastasia from like the Don Bluth version. Are in a room. Peter Pan gets a present. He opens it and it's Beyblade.
The hell is happening?
Speaking of Peter Pan, there's a new Peter and Wendy movie coming out.
yes, there is.
Okay, so Anastasia leaves. Peter goes on his hammock and he plays a little happy tune. Okay, so he's at a Beyblade competition. There's Aladdin, who's taken out the competition. Wow, Peter Pan sucks. He already lost. Like a Beyblade flew in the air, hit him, and stopped his.
Well, Peter is 13 years old. He wouldn't be that strong.
So,
Wait,
at
he's
Beyblade?
He's a teenager? I thought he was younger than
Yeah.
that.
Like, I think in the Disney version, he was 13.
Right, so Peter Pan and the father are arguing, or Anastasia are arguing. Okay, so there's a Beyblade competition still going on. There's a screen with the competition, like the people competing. Let's see, Ariel, Aladdin, Esmeralda. Who's the guy like from Mulan that like kind of has a crush on her and but doesn't
Shang?
realize? Yeah,
Shang.
him. Peter Pan and fucking Jim from Treasure Planet.
I'm telling you, teenage heartthrob.
Right, so the competition's going on. Everyone's just, I guess, posing, and then there's the competition going on. Beyblade's fighting it out. I don't know anything about Beyblade. Esmeralda, I think she lost. Yep, Aladdin kicked her ass, apparently. Right, so Peter Pan and Anastasia are arguing. The dad left, I think? I don't... Peter Pan goes out to creep in, gets caught by Shane? Shen?
Shang.
Dang.
Shang, sorry. Aladdin and him are arguing. Peter Pan overhears it. Aladdin's walking in the rain. He's sad. He finds Peter Pan. And you know that trope where like someone goes up to a person and puts their arms on either side of them?
Yeah.
He does that to Peter Pan. And offers
dude.
his hand. Peter Pan takes it, and his hand is tinier. Not like baby size, but like it's noticeably smaller. Okay, so he and Peter Pan are talking. I guess they fell in love.
After fighting each other in a competition?
Check,
They're
please.
talking at an abandoned building. They fist bump. It's now morning time. Aladdin versus Ariel in a Beyblade competition. I guess special ability was activated. Ariel
we're-
lost. She looks disappointed. Again, I don't know anything about Beyblade.
Neither do I. It's
I don't
not
think
even.
any of us do.
No, it's not
Say
even.
Peter Pan
It's not even popular anymore.
is fighting. See, Aladdin and Anastasia are talking. Peter Pan and Aladdin are now in a competition against each other. It's a heated battle. I guess shows their dads walking out on them. And a flashback as this fight's going on.
So now we're getting into anime territory.
Aladdin's dad and I don't know who he's supposed to be, like, or who lost. Okay, Peter Pan remembering someone. Halloween? And, oh, there's Ariel's mother and I think that's Aladdin's father from, like, the cartoon. Let's see, adult Ariel is watching as two characters kiss. It's just a bunch of weird family drama that's going on right now.
So a bad soap
Oh,
opera.
okay. Oh, okay. Their dad's kiss, maybe. I
So
don't
a whole bunch of cheating going on.
I have no idea what the just happened.
So it's
My
just a
brain
bunch
just
of
went off.
it's just a
Mine
bunch
too.
of people. It's just a bunch of people just wanting to kiss each other because they're lovesick.
Okay,
It
who
takes
but
a lot of-
everyone's watching their drinks? Come on.
Takes a lot of creativity to like think of this, but at the same time, it's like
Because it's a
My brain-
manifestation.
just because
It's
you
a,
can,
it's a
doesn't
man,
mean you should.
it's a manifestation of what they want in their own lives. That's what all of
But
these
again, I
things
have
are.
no room for a judgment because I've
But-
had weird, like I've done weird ships before.
But you don't like publicize it like in a in a thing like this. You don't do
Not in
music.
a video.
Yeah, not
I've
in
written
a video.
fan fiction before, but it was for fun.
Yeah, but that's different. Fan fiction and animated music videos are completely different, like forms of
right back.
mediums. So
Heck, I don't think I'd be able to do stuff like this because, like, back when I would have, my computer was not very good. I could barely run The Sims, and I had like hundreds of custom content files on there, and it would overheat and.
so you gotta dust it out every once in a while.
I'm not sure if that would have even helped because I had like too much shit on there.
Oh, that will do it too.
I think that's the end of them, unless you want me to like check
No.
the Saber.
I think
Alright.
we're good. I think we're good.
Thanks.
Alright.
Yeah, because like I said, it's just a bunch of people just like putting their fantasies out there for everyone to know.
Because
Mostly teenagers, right?
Mulan and Phoebus, I don't know why that's a thing. Not as annoying as. You know what? I learned something today. Jim from Treasure Planet is now very annoying.
Well, I mean, back then it was not so much now. Nobody even knows who Jim is. If you were to ask.
I know,
him.
but like he kept popping up, and I'm like,
Yeah, because it resonated with the people back then who watched it. So
it's
I
kind
mean,
of a shame because the movie.
well, the movie didn't
Why
do
is
so.
Belle and I mean, I know it didn't do well, but it's like the movie looked amazing. Just
It was just the audience
Hold
were
on.
like, we want more love stories
is
again.
this the great deer from Bambi? Why is he romantically involved with Belle from Beauty and the Beast?
I don't know.
Hey, come on. Someone's going to jail for this.
I think you just need to put it away. That's when you know. That's when you know it's getting bad.
Oh no, it gets bad when you see Tinkerbell and Timon.
No, that's
Oh,
that's
God.
what we're, no.
Stop. No.
Gonna pull the plug on that one.
Please. Let's get. Stop.
It's time to stop.
Yeah, yeah. People will go way too far. Just because.
Elliot's under my desk.
Even Elliot's not having any of it.
Well, before we end, I might as well give an Elliot story.
Yeah, go ahead.
Alright, so I've mentioned that he's watched me sleep, where I wasn't feeling well, so I decided to rest for a small nap, and when I opened my eyes, he was there sitting on my bed near my pillow, but last night I was turning into sleep, so there's some last minute stuff that I was doing, but I was laying on my side, and Elliot was being a little bit of a little brat. 'Cause I don't know why he does this, but he likes to pounce on me by jumping up on the bed. So he decided that, for some reason, he decided to pounce on me when I had my iPod in my hand. So I'm laying down. He decides to sit on my side, like on my waist, on my hip. And so like, I think he's gonna slap me. So like, I move my iPod under the pillow and I'm just pretending to be asleep, and I think he's just sitting there watching me to see if I try and do anything, and then he goes to his spot on the bed that he likes to sleep at. So my cat bullied me to sleep.
It was like all the attention that they just need before going to sleep.
Like, it wasn't even like 3 or 2 a.m. when I get the zoomies. It was just, I think it was midnight.
Oh my god.
But I guess he figured that sometimes I hold off going to sleep until it's that late. So he's like, you know what? No, I'm gonna stop you from doing that.
I'm your alarm clock, damn it. and you're going to sleep timer.
To be fair, I did get some good sleep, but it's just, I'm sorry. I also had to get some water too, because like I'm very dehydrated. Because I have my bed set up near the heater, like the radiators.
Oh yeah, that's not good.
So it gets too hot. Like it would be a pain in the butt to move my internet cable.
I'm back.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Because like it's an Ethernet thing, and not many people really know how to like change that over.
Yeah, I have never used Ethernet for anything. I stuck to wireless after dial-up went out.
Yeah, I kind of wish I could, but it's a desktop, so you know.
No, yeah, I have a desktop too, and I use Wi-Fi.
How? Do you have like an adapter?
Yeah, cause we get our internet through Xfinity.
I have similar, and it's just, I don't know, it's just easier to have a direct connection, because sometimes the Wi-Fi in my room is a little bit iffy. Or just goes out for no reason, or for some reason, like I have a dead zone in my room. Holy
Yeah.
shit, that looks good. Lucky Charms hot chocolate.
No.
No. I've seen some weird shit though, so but nothing like that.
It's just hot chocolate like homemade hot chocolate and you put the marshmallows on top.
That's
Yeah,
just
but
the
you're still gonna
it's
have
a,
like your
it's
green,
a-
like green colored shit when you get finished.
well, it's just the quality of the marshmallows and the Lucky Charms that I have an issue
I
with.
know. I wish they didn't cause that, because, like, I love those marshmallows.
That's food coloring for yourself.
Now, if you had hot cocoa with Cocoa Puffs, I think some people would just be like, they would not be able to get a hold of them. You'd be like Sonic.
Alright, so you do have, okay, so one time when I was, a senior, I decided to just down a whole mug of cocoa. Like, I don't remember eating anything with it. Like, I was fine up until I got to, the class before lunchtime. Where, like, there was a class lunchtime, then the rest of that class, then... At least I think that's how I ran it. I don't know, it's been a long time, but, I started not feeling well. Like, you know that feeling where it's like a ringing in your ears and just very lightheaded? Yeah, that happened. I just vaguely remember raising my hand and being like, hey, I don't feel so good, and yeah.
Oh God,
To help you that we were talking about, like, skin cancer.
it's Spider-Man all over again. Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good.
Like, from one of my friends who was in there said, was like, you turned white, like, sick white.
I was
And
about
it
to
was
say,
just-
it's like, what? You already are. You already are white.
Like,
What are you
you know,
talking
like
about?
the Snow White, that, like, oh, there's something wrong with you, and just...
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's amazing.
pale?
By the way, it's amazing that by the way nobody questioned that in Snow White. It's like, oh, she has skin white as snow. Yeah, that's a problem.
They got it from the fairy tale, because, like, I think the original story was, like, the mom pricked her finger on a rose, and, like, she liked how the blood looked on the snow, so she was like, something... Oh man, I forget the exact phrasing, but I wish I had a daughter with, like, skin as white as snow and something as red as blood.
Her lips.
Oh, lips as red as blood.
I think it was like popular back in the day when that story was written to have like white skin because of the queen.
Yeah.
That too,
well,
and, like, I guess there's... I could be wrong about this, but, like, the thing, like, having, very pale skin, you know, like, meant you didn't go out much, which meant you didn't have to work, because, you know, like, out in the sun a lot, your skin gets, like, sunburned or tanned or something like that. And
see, this is why Princess Peach is active, like athletically.
Then again, she still gets stolen by Bowser every fucking week.
You gotta
Yeah.
remember, you gotta remember, it's supposed to be like a theater play, and all the characters are actors. Bowser at one point's like, "Can we please do something else other than me kidnapping the princess?" And Peach is like, "No, this is what the money making machine is. We're gonna keep doing the storyline." Bowser's like, "God damn it!"
sorry. The one time that she is the hero, I don't think it went too well.
No.
Like,
I mean, they could have done some great things with it, but the fact that it was on the Game Boy Advance didn't help.
I thought it was on the DS, because, you know, the touch
Yeah, I
screen.
think it was on the
Well,
DS.
well, either way, on the handheld, it just didn't get advertised as much.
I remember there being a Princess Boot Camp commercial for it, and just the way the game was set,
Was it because, like, Peach using her emotions to go through different, like, certain areas of the
yeah, it was like a
Of the
puzzle thing
world?
where she had to use her emotions, and, like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like, looking back now, it feels kind of sexist, because, like, Mario
get it,
never
yeah.
had any of that stuff. Like, he got, like, you know, he got to run, he got to do parkour, he got to stomp on turtles, and
I get it.
and jump, and, like, go in castles, and go, like, run away from ghosts.
You only think
Well,
Peach
every
is
girl
good for...
gains
He got to do cool shit.
a lot of girls' games back in the day was sexist.
Yep.
And even in the game where she gets to be the main character, it's like puzzles. That's the only thing you're good for, princess, is puzzles.
Go
To
in the
be
kitchen
fair,
and
Legend
clean.
of Zelda also has some puzzles, but at the same time, there's more to it than that too.
Yeah.
Huh. I think the last time we got a female Legend of Zelda type thing was technically it was a spin-off, but still like Hyrule Warriors, where you got to play as female characters and
Right.
beat people up.
Which
That
Yeah,
one was
Hyrule
okay.
Warriors.
which fans did not like. Even though my friends like, yeah, I wish they would do more of these.
Oh, that's weird because I mean, sure, it was a time consumer, but like, I loved a lot of them.
Yeah.
That they had
It's-
hold on.
It was just people who are just like, give me more Breath of the Wild, damn it.
I think this was like before that,
Which it was.
maybe.
But then all the DLC came out after Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, they had Zelda, they had Impa, they had Sheik, they had Ruto, they had Midna, they had the bug girl Agatha, they had, let's see who else. They had Tetra. They had Marin. They had Toon Zelda. They had a female Link. She was adorable. Meddy's a girl, right?
I don't know. I don't know.
Medley?
I don't know the Zelda franchise all that well.
And they also had a couple of female characters who were exclusive to the game. Oh, they had I'm probably gonna say this wrong. They had Fi. They had Fi.
I don't know. Don't ask me. Ow.
Yeah, they pretty good cast there. I think I actually have it on my Switch too, so cool, I guess.
All I remember a lot from The Legend of Zelda are those damn chickens. Every time whenever you start fucking with them, they get so pissed off that they bring up a whole flock of them to kill you.
Funny you mentioned that, because in the spin-off, the female Link character, she well, she takes over the map. Like her allies are those chickens.
Yeah, that's the same thing I did in Four Swords Adventures.
Wait, you guys just love fucking those chickens and fucking
No,
with those
I-
chickens and piss them off.
No,
Oh
I
no, I
did.
don't.
Chester, get down. Lay down.
Hold on, there's something I gotta find that I have to read out. But if anyone has anything else like to add,
What, is
No, I'm
Wario
good.
invincible to red shells now? Oh, the mole got him. Never mind.
Elliot, get away from there. Stop that.
Well, I'm not giving Kevin updates because Kevin already ruined it.
Yeah.
Come on, give the Kevin an update.
Just him being a nasty
Whoa.
little shit.
He's just nasty and ruined a lot of food for a lot of us.
Just do what I did and pretend that we don't know how to read.
And I didn't even mention the one thing that involved Rule 34.
Please don't.
I'm not going to,
It's
but
best-
he thought it was so
it's best-
funny that he wonders
It's
why.
best to have it be left unsaid.
He wonders why people don't like him.
Yeah, and he wonders why people don't get his graphic humor. Like I mentioned this on my Instagram, the stuff he was doing, and people are like, "Oh my god, if that guy turned out to be my Tinder date, I would run away, like immediately."
I wish we could show Kevin.
No, I mean you already know what he looks like.
Yeah, but I'm in the audience.
Wait, hold on.
Oh
Chester,
god!
stop biting my hand.
And now he's going even worse.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yikes.
What the hell? What is worse than ruining food?
Ruining JoJo.
Oh no.
Okay, this is why we start gatekeeping, just for people, only those people like him.
Which by the way, people online are like, you should never gatekeep ever, because we need to include people in our communities.
Rare exceptions. There's teeny tiny rare exceptions.
They're just like, nope, no exceptions. We must keep them all, even if they're terrible people. Which, I was like, we need to be the leaders of this. And I was like, but no, because like, no, some people are just bad. Like, you don't need them around other people.
So much for
some
the
people-
one of us mentality.
So, you're saying, in other words, self like gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss, a lot of different things.
Sure, why the fuck not? Oh gosh, I can't find the post, but the gist of it is that that everything that happened after Wind Waker is because it's something to do with one of the few timelines where Ganon is completely defeated, like erased from existence. And this, like, the Zelda from that game technically wasn't even the hero. It was just some kid who
Just dressed up like them.
who, like, yeah, wore the clothes just for a ceremony, like I guess a grown-ups or a coming-of-age ceremony, and he wouldn't have, like, done anything if, like, they didn't kidnap it, like, if they left his sister alone. So this
Yeah.
guy who did all this stuff, fixed the Triforce piece, pretty much put the Master Sword back together, and defeated Ganon once and for all because of the big brother instinct. It's kind of funny how you think about it.
Yeah.
If I find that, I'll share it in the chat. I just thought that was an interesting point. Oh man, what the fuck? Where is it?
Alright, well, we're gonna stop here because we've gone over time already.
Yeah, and I'm about ready to fall asleep.
Yeah, because it's getting late. Alright. Well, next time around, we're gonna start the case 4 of Ace Attorney. And then,
Hopefully the audio is still gonna work.
I'll double check everything. I'm also gonna get my computer a deep clean, because we also got to look at the CPU temperature also, like, going further, because I don't want my computer to overheat. It's never a good thing.
Right, and
Um,
every time lately I've been checking on the audio that we don't usually hear Joe's voice.
I don't know. It's like a weird thing. Like, it still says the microphone's on, but then it just automatically goes to something else when I know, like, when I least expect it. Like, right now it's working.
Elliot in a bag.
Like, right now it's working fine. But, I'm gonna double check everything again, like I said. Oh, sorry. I opened up Skype by accident, and now I'm trying to get out of it.
Oops.
That's why that's why I wish icons would only allow you to, like, open up apps if you double click it.
Right.
All right. So yeah, we'll be back next week with some more Ace Attorney, and then we'll figure out what we're gonna do Friday. And then once we do, we'll see you on Friday. And the solo streams that I'm gonna try to do during the weekends will probably start either tomorrow or Sunday, because I finally got Tales of Symphonia, so I want to show off that game to people. So when I get time to do it, because it's my dad and sister's birthdays coming up, so we're all going out Saturday night for some Italian food, so I'm excited about that. So
Ooh, that's exciting.
it is.
Yeah.
Very much so. And it's like one of those places, like, they actually came from Italy and then just started making all the Italy recipes. I'm like, yay, finally. So I'm looking forward to it. So I'll make sure to try to make time to do the stream if I can. But anyway, we will catch you all next time. Until then, we're closing the goddamn laundromat. So you got to go home. All right. So
Yeah.
bye. Go on home. Bye bye.
Everyone take care.